Like the tunes. I haven't even figured out how to turn the volume down on this yet.
Yeah.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah.
Rocking out, dude. You're a drum player.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to Rookie Wednesdays. I am your host, Jesse Sr. And anybody that knows us out there knows my family, me or my family. They know that my father was a veteran, and myself and both of my brothers served. And then our nephews and nieces and cousins and just my family is a huge military veteran family. And with that being said, I am joined tonight by my nephew, who's also in the military currently, Blayne. Welcome here, Blayne. And then to his left is my brother, who is an Army veteran. So with that being said, man, we're gonna have a good conversation. I'm sure between the three of us, and we just have a ton of stories that we could just go into. But I think I want to make this episode about you, Blayne.
Awesome.
You're home. You're home for a couple days now. Mm-hmm. You're currently 4 years in the military. You're in 5 years now.
About 5.5, actually.
My man.
Yeah.
My God.
Yeah.
You've been all over the world already.
Yeah.
So all really cool topics that I'm excited to get into. Mm-hmm. But first of all, I think it's. Let's rewind the clock a little bit, Blayne.
Yeah.
Let's go back to high school, right?
Okay.
So, obviously, your dad served. It was a big part of. As a matter of fact, when you were a young buck and your dad was over in Iraq, I helped watch you a lot.
Right.
Your mother and myself and other family members were babysat you a lot.
Right.
And Dana was gone for how long were you gone for? Like 18 months. Close to
yeah, for a year in country and training for a while
Yeah.
before and after that.
Yeah. So from a young kid, it was instilled into you, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So you go through school now, and at what point in high school did you sit there and say, you know what, I think military might be a good option for me?
So I was never really fond of school to begin with. And as soon as I hit freshman year, my dad always, he was big on having good grades for me and all that. So as soon as I hit freshman year, it started getting real, right? That at some point I'm going to be, an adult. So when I started to realize, I'm not very fond of school to begin with, college probably isn't really a good option for me. And then, my dad, obviously everybody joined. And everybody always talked about the free college. So it was at that point that I kind of realized, well, if I want to do college, I could get it free. Or if I don't want to do college and I kind of like being in the military, I could join the military. Uh-huh. So probably around, I would say officially, my junior year, I actually did a 14-month senior program.
Okay.
So you essentially enlist 14 months prior to your graduation. Wow. So that's a year and 2 months, obviously. Mm-hmm. So I officially knew that I wanted to join my junior year. I went to the recruiter's office. He came with me. And I actually I enlisted as a junior, technically speaking, in high school.
Interesting. Now I know it could be a touchy subject, but I definitely want to discuss, you had a slight delay in your plans. What happened there?
Yeah. So... boom, junior year, I'm about 17.
You already signed it. You're already committed.
Already enlisted. Come my senior year, right, the next year, right after I'm already signed the contract and everything, I had torn my ACL, right? So that means, obviously, my contract is done with, right? I can't leave at the given time because I was supposed to leave in June of 2018. Mm-hmm. So my contract was completely voided due to that. And I missed out, actually. That was, like I said, the reason it is a touchy subject.
Missed out on the bonus.
So the 14-month senior program, you get $500 for every month that you enlisted prior. Whoa. So that's $7,000 right there, gone. Boom, right? So then my recruiter informed me on my job and my MOS, and I actually ended up having a bonus for it as well, $7,500, gone. So $14,500 before taxes, of course, gone, just with one injury, completely gone, and a year taken out of my, a year being paused, I guess you would say.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. So we don't need to go into how it happened, but so you
Yeah.
had a traumatic injury, and that really just that put everything on the burner.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I imagine at that particular point in time, psychologically, you're probably depressed and everything else in between. Mental health was probably in the gutter.
Yeah.
But you fought back.
Yep.
I mean, that had to take a lot of mental strength to do so.
Yep.
Coming back from an injury, because I mean, you got to think. I mean, Daniel, you've had torn ACLs, MCLs, and everything. I mean, at some point, you just got to realize, like, or it's probably in your mindset, like, oh man, I'm kind of screwed. I can never go through basic training.
Yeah.
Tell us about basic training. So you get into basic training, and you went through smooth. Everything was cool. Like no kickback from your injury.
No. So the only problem that I had with basic was I was never really a long runner, right?
I don't think any of us were.
Yeah.
Negative.
So for me, I hadn't really even ran since I torn my ACL going to basic. I did physical therapy, and that was about the only exercise that I had gotten, really, because of work, right? I was trying to work while I had a torn ACL. But yeah, so I did going through basic. It was pretty tough physically. Obviously, mentally, we all know how that goes.
Sure.
Physically, though, I will say I had a tough time. I had a really good friend of mine at basic, and he actually was a physical therapy. He was like 33, 34 before joining. He was actually a physical therapist prior, and he was a blessing because he actually gave me like a lot of good stretches to get right where I needed, to actually stretch and massage, I guess you could say.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but going through basic altogether, I mean, that's the only hard part was like the mental part.
Gotcha.
Other than that, the physical part, I was able to push through. I was probably more in shape than I've ever been in my entire life after basic.
So actually, joining though, and again, rewinding just a hair. So joining, was it more of like, was it personal for you? Was it just to do a family tradition? What was your actual primary reason for joining the military?
I've been asked those questions a lot of times over the past 5.5 years. And to be quite frank, it is a multitude of reasons, right? Obviously, what I had said earlier with the free college and utilizing it, right? It's a stepping stone. But the main reason, a really big reason I did join was to carry on the family tradition as well. I take pride in our family and our bloodline. And I don't think there's many more things that are more honorable than joining the service. So that was a big part. And I would say the close second is just to learn a craft, right? To sit there and work on aircraft. I mean, I think you could do that in the civilian world.
Sure.
And I'm pretty certain it pays a lot of good money in the civilian world as well.
Sure.
So transition factor and family legacy are the two big factors that really made me join.
Gotcha. So fast forward in a little bit. I'm getting even goosebumps even thinking about this because your dad, when he went down to watch you graduate, he's sending us video. Actually, he was recording it live. And to be honest, man, I have never seen a graduation ceremony like that ever.
That was the best.
It was absolutely incredible.
Right.
I mean, I honestly, God, I'm getting goosebumps even thinking about it.
Yeah.
That was so cool. And then, so going behind the scenes to where you and your recruits or your soldiers.
Yeah.
I mean, the feeling that you guys must have had. The song was incredible.
Yeah.
Everything about that was awesome.
Yeah.
So now you're walking. You see your family in the stands. You know that you made it. I mean, walk us through how that felt at that moment.
I started getting goosebumps before we were in the tree line.
Yeah.
The smoke wasn't even out yet. I'm gonna rewind a little bit to before the smoke even went out. Right. I started getting goosebumps and getting all amped up. I was all jittery.
Yeah.
Before the smoke grenades even went out, right? I had the jitters, right? I was already excited. We could peek through the trees a little bit. You could see everybody, right? And I remember at one point, I actually seen Nana's hat. Nana wears her specific hats. Like, I don't know what they're called.
Right.
But she wears a specific type of hat. And I seen it. And then I see Nana's glasses. And I look and I see this guy. And I see Big Pops. I'm already amped up, so amped up. I know today's the day. This is it right here. So we're sitting here, we're getting ready, right? You know, the drill sergeants are yelling us, get back, right? Boom. Throw the first snow grenade.
Oh, man.
Boom. The smoke grenades start going, right? And I'm sitting there, I'm watching. I'm already amped up. I'm ready, right?
It was way better live too, man.
I bet. Yeah.
So as soon as the smoke grenades go out, you know, they make us wait so they could actually fill up a smoke and block us.
Right.
So I'm already amped up. My adrenaline's just pumping, right? All of a sudden we hear music start playing. Oh, man.
That's his band, one of the bands.
Oh, yeah.
Right,
What's the song? What's the song
Soldiers,
called?
by
Yes.
Otherwise.
I'm going to play that, a brief clip right here.
This life is surrender. There's nothing left for us to do. Find the strength to see this through.
Awesome. So, yeah. So that song's playing. I'm sitting here. Adrenaline's been flowing now. And these couple minutes feel like an eternity, right? All I want to do is see him. You know, I just went through, 9.5 weeks of all this stuff?
Yeah.
So we come on out then, and the music's playing. We come running up. We get right to the smoke line. We all come running up. We form up. You know, I got to like slow myself down. My heart's pumping because I'm already ready to go.
Right.
And we come marching out and everything. And that moment right there when I see everybody clearly, right? I see them in the crowd, and I see this just huge crowd of people here for literally all of us. Right? That was such a surreal moment of like, this is it right here.
Hard work pays off.
Yeah. Everything you just went through, everything you just dealt with for the past, 9 weeks, right? This is it. It paid off, you know?
People compare boot camp to hell.
Yeah.
I know on Paris Island, they call it the land that God forgot. And
Do you remember your time? Like, I remember for me, when I knew it was good, is my final PT test. When I smoked that. That's when it hit me, man. I was just like, let's go.
For us, we did a final, like a 4-day event out in the field where we marched, I think, a total of 34 miles. And, we were food deprived. And then when we got back, for us, the ending ceremony was us getting our Eagle Globe and Anchor pinned on. So it was a very, like you said, a very surreal moment. And, things that we'll never forget, right?
Yeah.
And that memory, that feeling that you felt is etched in your soul forever.
Yeah.
So you go through the graduation process, the dust settles, you march it out, you see your family, you're embraced by your family, and then it begins. Now you're a soldier, and life. Now you're back to day one, square one, right?
Yep.
From graduation, you went to school. You mentioned that you're an air flight or air mechanic. Where was your training at?
So my training after that, I went up to Fort Eustis, Virginia, and I spent about, I want to say, 6.5 months, because I was a holdover there for a little while. I forget the reasoning verbatim, but they kept me there for a couple more weeks.
Is this during COVID era? I guess? Before COVID?
It was right before.
Gotcha. Okay.
Or it was right at the beginning, I believe, and I think that's why we got stuck there.
Gotcha. So Virginia for your schooling.
Yes.
And then where was your first duty station?
My first duty station was Fort Bliss, Texas.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So and now mind you, and correct me if I'm wrong, this is his first time traveling out of Pennsylvania, right?
Yeah. Well, no, maybe not Pennsylvania, because we took a trip to Florida before.
Okay, gotcha.
But traveling by myself.
Right. Okay.
Yes.
So much different out in Texas than Pennsylvania weather.
I don't know how people live there, man. I'll tell you.
And you were there for how many years were you there?
I was there for altogether probably just a little under 4.
Yeah.
But subtract my time in Germany from that as well. But yeah, approximately 4 years almost.
How was adapting to military lifestyle? Going from living, at home or, just living as a teenager and a young adult to all of a sudden being a service member.
I actually had a very tough time adjusting to it.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. It took me a while. I wasn't necessarily happy doing it at first because, you know, how you feel. You know, you're alone. You're not with your friends or family. Phone calls are nice, but it's not the same as this right here, right?
Right.
It's nowhere near the same, you know. And this is why I love coming home. But I had a very tough time. I definitely was a bit more, and I was also younger, 19 years old too, you know, 19, 20, however old I was. I would say I wasn't the most mature. I didn't have control of my emotions as well. And then just the adversity, right? I was in a relationship when I first joined.
Okay, yeah.
And I tell you, that was a horrible time for that, I say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone hears about those stories.
Uh-huh.
You know what's crazy is, so, and again, I appreciate your honesty. You're being very open and transparent.
Yeah.
Can you imagine, Dino, what it was like for Pop as
Oh,
a year younger than Blayne, and gearing up, knowing that you're going straight into the front lines of a fierce and deadly battle?
Yeah.
It's crazy, you know, and
that's why he signed up. You know?
Yeah. So there's you know, decades of transition in between, you know, of societal differences.
Yeah.
But you did it, man. You did it, and yeah. So it was a little bit tough to adapt, and so you're rocking out at, and plus your rank was low. You were E1, E2, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So from Fort Bliss, or am I saying that, Fort Bliss in Texas?
Fort Bliss, yep.
So you're there for what, a year, 18 months, or something like that?
No, 4 years. 4 years in Texas.
Okay, and then you went to Germany afterwards?
No, so we went on a rotation. So technically, on paper, technically speaking, that's a deployment.
Okay,
So we technically went on
gotcha.
deployment.
And does the Army require you to spend a certain amount of time overseas or on a deployment per?
So
agreement?
so you're supposed to spend 9 months, at least 9 months. Yeah.
So during your time at Texas, you volunteered to go over to Germany for a tour, so to speak.
Well, we didn't volunteer. Everybody went.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, nobody
Okay.
had a choice.
Okay.
If you're deployment ready, like on medically, if you're medically capable of deployment, you're going.
Gotcha. How long were you over in Germany for?
I was over there for 9 months.
So what was the cultural difference like in Germany as opposed to Texas and Pennsylvania?
Yeah. So very different. Just even so, their laws, right? They don't have full freedom of speech over there, right? You can't talk about the Nazis, Hitler, right? You can't mention anything. Not that you would want to.
Sure, of course.
But that's an example. There's more stuff. I don't know the ins and outs fully, but there's a lot of stuff you can't talk about. Those two being obviously the biggest examples. They're police.
I didn't have them rules when I was there. At least I don't remember them.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, yeah. With your dad being there, so it's kind of cool. You walked in his footsteps and followed the places that he was.
Yeah.
But go ahead. So food, what's the culture like over there?
So culturally, they're not as, here in America, you go out to any big city, you could talk to basically anybody. Hey, can I get directions here? Hey, quick question. Where's the nearest bathroom? Right? Anything. They're not like that, really. Nobody, really wants to talk to you, especially because they know you're foreign. You're foreigners. They're polite. Their manners are great. Everybody's actually really nice when you talk to them, but they're not outgoing at all. If they could, keep to themselves, get on the train, go home from work, and just go home, that's what they do.
Interesting.
Yeah.
What were some challenges that you faced over there?
Challenges we faced. That was my first time as an adult really not having my car.
Yeah. Okay.
My car is my sense of, this is my safe space. I have a rough day at work. I could go for a nice little drive, right? Bump some music, That's my real little safe space. And being around 2 to 3 people for 9 months. And then at one point, we were crammed in 6, 7 to a room when we were leaving. So going right back to that, kind of like basic in a way where you're surrounded by people 24/7. I would say that was the most challenging thing. You get mad at somebody and you don't really have anywhere to go.
Yeah.
You can't really do anything.
And so the military base, the United States military base in Germany, how far do you have to go to get out into civilization?
So the part that we were at, to a small civilization was like a small, I guess, like village or city, I guess you could say. I don't really know what it classifies as. But we were in Illesheim. We would take a 10-minute train ride over to Bad Windsheim.
Okay.
They have grocery stores there. Taxis, if you wanted to, it's not a big place at all.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it was about a 10-minute train ride.
Interesting. And then, like nightlife, were you able to go out and enjoy like, your freedoms and stuff over there?
No,
Liberty, I guess you would call it.
So fun little story. We weren't, when we first get there and before we leave, it starts off with, okay, you're not able to drink and you're not able to leave post for 2 weeks. After those 2 weeks are up, okay, you can leave post, you can't drink at all.
Huh.
And then, so it takes a full month for you to actually, them allow you to integrate there. And I think that's just our unit, right? I think that was just our unit trying to be smart.
Yeah.
But when that little month dwell time there, when that was up, we probably had one of the biggest barracks parties ever. Just 3 full buildings of everybody, right? But I won't dive too deep into that. But to answer your question now, more directly, the nightlife there, very fun. They had, in Berlin, they had this one club that was 3 stories.
Huh.
Every story had a different genre of music.
Okay.
You know, so that's just one example, right? Now, imagine all the other places, you know, and Germany's not just obviously full of German people as well.
Sure, right.
A lot of immigrants there, and you could go to a Spanish club, like that's actually like from Spain though, right? And I'm not talking like, you know, Puerto Rican or Dominican.
Spain, right?
Yes, this is like Spain culture here. And so you could go to like a lot of really cool clubs, bars. They have a lot of cool bars there. German beer is huge.
Yeah.
So the nightlife, very entertaining. When we were able to utilize it, because sometimes we'd be working weekends too.
Right.
So when we were able to utilize the nightlife though and actually go out,
took full advantage.
Amazing. Yeah, great times.
So when you're not on Liberty, what was your day-to-day like for your actual job, military job?
So day-to-day in Germany, so I was part of a support unit. So we didn't own any aircraft. The other units, the line units, would send us aircraft and say, hey, there's a lot of faults here. Can you guys take care of all these? Right?
Okay, cool.
So our day-to-day life, we would deal with a lot of stuff. As an electrician, aircraft electrician, right? We have to know all the electrical components of the aircraft, right? So we're talking from lights to the computers that are in the front of the cockpit, right? Radios, just everything in between.
Wow.
So some days it's real easy, little troubleshooting, a quick little look in the book, and all we got to do is change a light bulb. You know, it could really vary from being a really long day to, and depending on the fault, turn into a really long week of trying to figure this out. Or it could be, you know, just an easy day, go change a couple light bulbs and fix a couple wires, and that's it.
Yeah. You know? Interesting. Not to go off topic, but I don't know if you even know or not because you're so fresh. I don't know if you watch the news, but there's been an insane amount, at least it appears so, of like aircraft accidents and things going on there.
Yeah.
In your opinion, is it just because of people just missing doing some pre-inspections or things like that? I mean, what do you think? And just because you have a little bit of that experience.
I mean, in all honesty, you know, it could be a mix of a lot of things, right? Okay. It could be a pilot's fault or the crew chief's fault for misinspections, right? Not inspecting properly.
Gotcha.
Then it comes down to, you know, it could be a maintenance error, right? You have when you do maintenance, right? You have a TI, a technical inspector, check your work, right? So that's the whole point of a TI, and that's why maintenance majority of the time is not to blame.
Okay.
I wouldn't think it was a maintenance error. I would say it'd have to be a pilot error, maybe wrong maneuver while flying.
Yeah.
Right? Or lack of information, lack of communication between pilots in some scenarios.
It really seems to be a big topic right now. And just again, I don't know if it's just because it's a hot topic that they're surfacing, you know, up in the news. It's really, you're seeing it every time you turn the channel, turn the news on, you see another incident happening here or there. But so you're doing a lot of maintenance on these aircraft. You're over in Germany for 9 months.
Yep.
And then you gear up and you come back to Texas.
Yep.
Which was your main station.
Yep.
And then you start gearing back up. You volunteer to go to your next station.
Yes.
Tell us about that and where it was.
Yes. So how that happened, a lot of my friends started getting out. Everybody that I went to Texas with, when I first got to Texas, that I was introduced to, everybody kind of dwindled off, right? Everybody started leaving. And the main thing is one of my best friends that I've ever met in the Army. I would like to call him my mentor to becoming a soldier. Galindo, he actually ended up, his time was coming very close to ETS, get out of the Army completely. So me acknowledging that and me acknowledging he's my last really good friend here, I wouldn't want to be here without him. I was like, okay, well, what's the next step, right? How do we go about going somewhere else, hopefully close to home? So at that point, I contacted Branch, which is the people that move you around. And I said, hey, I would like to go to Fort Drum. That's the closest spot to home. I would like to go there. Is there any way I could get there? They messaged me back. They explained to me this whole process, right? Part of that process was if I give them a year in Korea, I can come up to Fort Drum, New York. So I said, okay, well, I've already done the overseas thing. What's another country, what's going to another country? How bad can that be? Right. And it's only 3 months longer, right? 3 months, that's not too bad. I know I didn't, like I said, I don't like being overseas that much. It's cool to visit, to live there. I don't like it that much, but anything to be closer to home. So yeah, so I ended up, I said, okay, I'll give you guys a year. You guys give me Fort Drum. And the only reason I get that is because of a HAP. Essentially, I forget what HAAP stands for directly, but I have my promotable status, and that's how I could get that. Get that whole trade off.
Gotcha. Okay.
And keep it stamped and say, this is our deal.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. So you re-sign the contract, and then you prep up and you go to Korea.
Yep.
South Korea. So where out in South Korea?
Pyeongtaek.
Okay.
Very south of Seoul.
Okay.
Very, very south of Seoul. It's like it's not close to Busan's at the very bottom. That's like the big second biggest city, Seoul being the biggest.
Yeah.
Right. It's about there in the middle.
Okay. So how different was it in Germany being in South Korea?
Okay. Very good question. Definitely the police. Right. Rules being a big one. German police, you don't answer them. Like, it's not like America where if I ask you for your ID, we could argue about it and it'd be some. German police will grab you and drag you out of the car. And
did that happen to your dad? Or not? I don't know, Daniel. Did that happen to you?
Did that happen?
I was the MPs. Courtesy patrol.
So they get physical in Germany.
Yeah, they're allowed to.
So did the MPs. And the dogs.
So in Korea, it's completely illegal to, if say you came up, for example, you came up and you started punching on me, right? Well, what do we do here in the States? Well, I got to punch you back, right? You can't do that at all. Now, me and you are both getting charged for assault. Even though you started it, I can't use self-defense in Korea. So no matter what, if all you're doing is defending yourself, say, a couple guys come up giving you a hard time and you're defending yourself, that doesn't matter. That's against the law in Korea.
And you get locked up?
Yeah. Well, I don't know verbatim. I don't know verbatim what happens.
Yeah, well, yeah, I'm just saying.
But I imagine something along the lines. Yeah. Wow. So rules are a big thing different between the two. Police are different as well because they can't assault you either.
Right.
So obviously they're a lot more, hey, sir, can you please do this? Sir, can we please see this? Sir, they're a lot more respectful because they really can't really lay hands on you at all.
What about nightlife in Korea?
A lot of fun as well.
Yeah?
Yeah, a lot of fun. I will say, going out to Seoul, beautiful city, huge city at that. Lot of nice spots out there. And I will say, Korea has way more diversity than Germany. So Korea has a lot of big colleges there. So a lot of people, Australians, people from Spain, any country you can name, people are going to these colleges from all over the world.
Wow.
So I will say, like just everything to do there. Like there's whatever type of music you like, whatever type of culture you like, you can find it.
Food, same thing.
Food, yeah, absolutely the same thing.
Where did you have better food, Germany or Korea?
I'm biased because I do like sandwiches. I'm a big sandwich guy. I like Germany more because they had this thing called doner.
Yeah.
Amazing. all of us enjoyed Donor.
Yeah.
It's so good.
I remember you sending back pictures, and that was one thing that your dad and I always told you, travel the world, make sure you take a lot of pictures.
Mm-hmm.
So in your time spent overseas, where was your favorite place that you've got to visit? And I don't want to say as a vacation, but essentially as a vacation while you're over there.
Yeah.
You actually went out and saw stuff.
Yeah. Really, really tough. I would go. I'll say Prague.
Okay.
In Czechia.
Mm-hmm.
Prague. It's a kind of a party city as well. A lot of history there though as well. We went to really cool castles there. Very, very old castles too. Like we're talking some of the oldest castles in the world.
Gotcha.
So that was really neat. And like I said, I mean, I don't want to, somebody fact check me, but I think they did have the oldest castle in the world. I think we did go visit it there.
Very cool.
And the nightlife there was also very fun too. So with Prague, you get really the best of both worlds, right? You get to go out and explore and see awesome historic stuff.
Right.
And then you also get to go out and have a lot of fun as well.
Gotcha.
Prague was just, like I said, just a perfect spot in all honesty.
So you spend time in Texas, your Texas day, your days from 8 to 4 essentially is your ideal work day.
Yeah.
You got to see the world on Uncle Sam's dollar. You traveled to some amazing places. You've eaten some amazing food, drank probably all types of beer, any beer that's out there. How did military life compare to your expectations from when you first joined?
Okay. Very loaded question there, I will say. So to clarify, what I was expecting, I didn't really ask too many questions about the living situations, when I was first joining.
Which nobody does. And for context, nobody that joins.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. So I'm sitting here thinking, I'm going to get in a nice house. I'm going to have an awesome car, right? You hear all the corny stories of people getting Hellcats, right? That's the thing that people always, soldiers always crack jokes about is, I enlisted. They told me they'd get a Hellcat. My recruiter lied to me, right? So but I was sitting here thinking, I'm going to have a nice car. I'm going to get a nice little house. And I had all these expectations. I thought the military life's going to be cool. I'm not going to do any soldier stuff. I'm going to be, I work on aircraft, right?
Yeah.
I was rudely mistaken, right? We have all the same stuff just like everybody else, right? We have motor pool Mondays. We have, obviously PT 06 every day, 0630, depending on your unit. All that good stuff. So that was my expectation, though. And how it is now, I will say.
Sorry.
No, that's fine.
Hold on. That's what I wanted to do.
Very fitting. Big letdown there. And then, obviously how I see it now, I will say I see it as very beneficial still, right? Granted, not the house, not the really nice car, right? Still very beneficial. I took a lot of time while I was out in Korea I went out to Korea with a lot of goals. Wasn't able to accomplish all of them, but financial goals I crushed, blew out of the water. I saved up more money than I have in my entire life.
Okay.
My credit score is absolutely fantastic. And I haven't decided to pay my car off yet, but if I wanted to pay my car, I could pay my car off 3 times right now.
How old are you now?
I'm about to be 25 at the end of this month.
Oh, man, time flies.
Yeah.
So it wasn't exactly what you expect, but to that note, I don't think it is for anybody.
No. Nope.
But you're acknowledging the good out of it.
Yeah.
You're definitely learning. You're taking some good experiences. You kind of got what you wanted. So the whole reason for doing your extension was because you wanted to be at a base that was somewhat closer to home. Is that accurate to say that?
Yeah. So in all honesty, the reason I re-enlisted, so they told me that I needed to. Right?
Okay.
They told me I needed to because if I would have came back to the States, I would have only had 5 months left. So you need at least 6 months on your contract to come back stateside.
Oh.
So my only options were necessarily to stay there longer, an extra 5 months, and get out of the Army from there, right? And not take benefits of my SFL TAP, which is a Soldier for Life program, right? So I wouldn't have gotten to take full benefits of that. I would have had to stay in Korea 5 months longer.
Oh.
And I would have came back to say, hey, Dad, I have nothing going for me, nothing planned right now. Can I come kick it with you for a little
Get
bit?
out.
Yeah, right.
There's
Right.
stuff's in the garage.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay. So you played your hand right.
yeah, yeah.
Good. Very good.
So,
Mature. That's,
yeah.
Good thinking on your behalf.
Yep.
So you're gearing up now. You're going to be heading to New York,
Mm-hmm.
based in New York. What's your expectations, or like, what are you thinking about? What's your thought process going to a base in New York?
So the first thing that comes to mind is being able to come home. Being able to come home a little bit more frequently. I definitely want to take advantage of that. I think I would love to, I've missed so many holidays over the course of the past 5.5 years, right? I would love to come home the 4th of July, Christmas, Thanksgiving. I'd really just be home for the holidays.
Gotcha.
Focus on that and saving up leave time, right? Obviously, these are all 4 days. For anybody that doesn't know, we get 4 days and 3 days for holidays. So I definitely want to take advantage of those 3 days and 4 days and use those to come home. For my leave, maybe take a couple more trips before I officially get out of the Army. And I'm stuck to, in the Army, we have 30 days of leave per year that we acquire. So I don't think many jobs out in the civilian world are giving you 30 days off.
Yeah.
So I would like to do a little bit of more traveling with my leave time before I get out, continue to save money, and just be as best prepared to get out of the Army and become a civilian as I can.
So you probably just answered my next question, but I'm going to ask it anyways.
Okay.
So what is a major goal that you have to accomplish before your contract is up?
Okay. Major goal.
Do that preparation stuff that you were talking about.
Yeah. So major goal of mine is, I would say, like the most important goal, right? Because there's a bunch, obviously, but the most important is to hopefully get my AMP certification.
Okay.
Which is an airframe and power plant certification. So I'm only an electrician, but with an AMP certification, that will you go to school, they teach you a lot more stuff, and it essentially is a civilian certificate that says I can work on aircraft as well as work on the airframe, the power plant, which is transmissions, engines, and all that. So once I get that certificate, I basically I could work almost anywhere.
And what entails in getting that certificate?
So are you talking about like the actual process of getting
What's the
it?
process
Okay.
of getting that certificate?
So for being a soldier, the process is probably a lot different than for a civilian. For being a soldier, I just have to communicate with somebody that is part of the AMP licensing, I guess you could say. Somebody that gives you.
Sure, right.
Whoever gives you the AMP, right? Once I get in communication with them, they give me a bunch of paperwork. They email me a lot of paperwork. I print it off. So then after that, I take classes, which I have to buy the books for.
Gotcha.
Take some classes. And then after you take those classes, remember I was telling you about the TIs earlier?
Yeah.
Technical inspectors. So I could have my TIs, my technical inspectors. They can test me and ask me all these questions, right? Once I answer those questions correctly, boom, I get this person. So say I go to Hydro, right? Which is, I go to Hydro and they ask me the questions. They check it off. They say, he knows this. Then I go to, let's say, Airframe, which are the people that do all the welding and stuff.
Correct.
I go to them. Their TI asks me the questions, and he checks it off.
So essentially, you can get all of your testing done on base by classified or inspectors and so whatever.
Yeah.
Right. That can check off and actually test you.
Yeah.
How long is that process of doing these tests or buying the books and doing a test? Are we talking weeks, months?
I was informed. I only know one other person that actually did it. I was informed it can maybe take like 5-6 months.
Okay, because this is etched in stone, and you made this goal, brother. So I'm going to be, for the next 6 months, I'm going to be harping on you. Hey, man, where are you at with your testing process?
Absolutely.
Did you buy your books yet? What phase are you on?
Absolutely.
Is this the one that you start doing a year out or whatever?
Yes. So it's part of SFL tab. So I have a year and a half.
Okay. So you got to start doing it, basically. It's time to, So you're home now. You got to start doing it.
Yeah.
So, okay. So you have your goals. You have your plans laid out for your next year in the service. So what's it look like outside of that service? You accomplish everything. You look so well, first of all, you're not looking to re-enlist.
No.
So what's it looking like for Blayne as soon as he gets out of the military?
So what the dream is right now, because, I mean, I could sit here and say, you know, a lot of things, but with the dream and how it's hopefully looking right now, being realistic with myself, right? I want to get on my feet. I want to save up a lot more money, right? So I do plan on at least hopefully staying with him for, you know, a couple months till I find, you know, a place to stay.
Sure. Actually, I still had that insurance thing that you signed me up for years ago. I plan on getting that.
Yeah.
That nice little bundle.
Cool. Yeah. Yes. He's talking about, he did a life insurance policy for you when you were a baby. I used to be a life insurance agent when I first got out of the military, and it gained cash value. So it'd be a little help, a little assistance for you there. But yeah, so go ahead, keep going.
So yeah, so realistically, you know, I see myself spending, you know, maybe a couple months with him, working a lot. I do want to get out, and I even think about maybe working 2 jobs just to make rapid money. I want to make a lot of money very quickly, and I do plan on getting a house shortly after I get out. I would love to get a house and start off there.
Right.
Use my what is it called? We talked
GI
about
Bill.
Is it the GI
or
Bill?
VA benefits?
VA loan.
Yeah,
I would like to use a VA loan.
Yeah.
And take advantage of that. That being a big help right there.
What about the GI Bill? Do you plan on utilizing that for any sort of educational path?
So I'm on the fence on that right now.
And it could be used, honestly, it could be used in a couple of different ways. You can utilize it as on the OJT, on the job training. So yeah, if it's something that you haven't really thought about, that's just a tip for you.
That's what I did on the job training.
You don't have to go to college. You can kind of use it towards your career. So that may be something to look into as well.
So I was talking to that same guy that I mentioned earlier. I was talking to Galindo, and he was putting me on to he was giving me information about the GI Bill and how to utilize it in the best way possible. So I am taking a trip actually, and at the end of this month for my birthday, I'm actually taking a trip to go out there, go see him in LA.
Yeah, let's go.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
So while I'm out there, you know, we're going to get more stuff down packed.
Yeah.
He like I said, he's what, 34, 35?
And that's great.
He has a lot of information.
And it's great that you have a mentor like that. And that's, you know, good for him. You know, thank you to him, and good for you to acknowledge in that and continue to hold that relationship moving forward.
Yeah.
That's
awesome.
awesome.
Blayne said he's going to get a tattoo of LA underneath his eye.
That's funny. So let's see. So this is a pretty open-ended question, man. And tell us and tell the camera here. So what are some lessons that you learned that you'll be carrying forward in life from the military?
Jeez. Okay.
I'm good at putting people on the spot, brother.
Yeah, no, really, really good question. Okay. I actually have the perfect answer for that. One of the big things I've learned since I've been in the Army is to take advantage of my loved ones, whether it be friends, family, battle buddies, right? Utilize everybody in your life, right? You know, I've always learned from him especially to never burn bridges, right? I don't really burn bridges with anybody, just in case, you know, if somehow, some way we could come to a mutual beneficial exchange of some sort, you know, or whatever, you know, knowledge. But I would love to carry that lesson on in my further. I would like to carry that lesson on after my military experience, right? In the way of asking you for advice, asking him for advice, asking my mom for advice, right? Just always being focused on reaching out to the people that I know may have the answer.
Gotcha.
To maybe a dumb question I have. I may have a dumb, hey, Uncle Jez, how do I file my taxes, right? Something like that. I just want to be smart and utilize the resources that I have to get an easy answer. Right. So I know the direction I need to go in. Now, all I need to do is go in that direction.
Right. And you have the people surrounding you and you have the resources.
Yeah.
So great answer. I love it. What's one thing that you wish more people understood about military services?
Well, I'm not going to lie. I have a funny answer for that. I wish people knew that you're not going to punch a drill sergeant.
Yeah.
People always say, oh, you know, I didn't join because I would have beat a drill sergeant up if he was yelling in my face like that. No, you would not. They are literally the most in shape people on the planet. They will run circles around you. They will dog on like. I think it's so funny when I sit here and people say that stuff. Like, you don't understand.
Yeah.
Just because you're big and bad and you have an attitude and all that stuff, you will get pummeled by any drill sergeant ever. I wish more people understood that.
Yeah.
That's my funny answer. Do you want me to give like a more realistic answer?
No, I mean that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
Cool.
good. That's good. Tell us a good, either funny or memorable story that's etched in your brain that you're going to be telling your kids and your grandkids, and it's something that we're always going to be talking about around campfires.
Whew.
Keep it R-rated.
I'm trying to think too. I'm trying to think like, you know, obviously this is the internet. I do got to think of what
You guys get in trouble out in town, overseas. I mean, I know your dad and we have some pretty funny stories, but
okay, yeah, I got one for. Okay, so
you won't be grounded, all right?
Okay, good. Copy. No, so well, we were out in Germany. A bunch of me and some of the younger guys, right? The three of us specifically. My guy Amobi, huge MMA fighter, really good guy, and then one of the youngins. He was a youngin. I forget how old he was, but Ali as well. Three of us. We decided to go out to Munich. And, you know, I like to drink just as much as the next guy. I will always be down to go out, have a great time. So we end up going out there, and we go to one of those clubs that I was telling you about.
Sure.
It was a 3-story club in Munich as well, but it wasn't like a tower of a building. It was one floor here, and a floor over here.
Yeah.
So really cool club too. So we go out there. And we're sitting here, we're getting belligerent, right? Our hotel's right down the way. And I'll never forget, we sit here, I go up to the bar and I go get a drink, right? I'm like, hey, does anybody want a drink? Everybody said no. Okay. I go get a drink. I'm like, okay, cool. So as I'm coming back to get a drink, I see my friend Amobi, and he's a big guy. I'm telling you, like, he's like, I'll show you guys pictures of him, man. Really big guy.
I'm going to post a picture of him right here so the crowd can see what we're talking about.
Yeah. And so I see him, and he's sitting here just literally face to face with one of these bouncers. And this bouncer is huge too. Like, and I'm talking like little hefty underbelly, like pretty big and like tall too. Yeah. And I'm 5'5", right? I'm 5'5". When I tell you, I've never been so scared in my life, right? I set my beer down at the bar, right? That beer is gone. I never went and got it. I'm sitting here. I come running up, and they're all grabbing each other. Dude, he's talking about, fuck you this, fuck you that, da-da-da-da-da, going crazy. And I'm sitting here. I remember just getting knocked over and looking up and just watching them duke it out. And I'm just sitting there dazed and amazed by what is happening right because I got flung like a fly.
Yeah.
There was nothing I could do to stop that. And then afterwards, he literally sitting there laughing with us, telling us, yeah, bro, he's like, I'm sorry about that, P. Everybody calls me P, but he's like, hey, P, I just want to say, my bad, bro.
That's classic.
That's on me. And that was just one of those moments, though, where I just remember being, like, instantly like, oh, shit, like, why is this happening right now? You know? That's funny. And that's just a good one that I could share, share. I'm not going to get too deep into the others, but that's a funny one where, you know, little old P got flown around.
That's classic.
You know?
So you grew up hearing military talk and understanding military lifestyle from your dad and from your family. What's a myth out there about the military? So again, you're hearing about this lifestyle as you're growing up. What's a myth out there about the military that you are okay debunking? So as a kid, you're like, you had this mindset about the military just through hearing from your dad's experiences, and then now that you're a veteran,
that's a good question.
Yeah, what's something that you would actually debunk for anybody else that's hearing things or hearing rumors or crazy stories? I know you mentioned about the drill instructor, and that's a great one too. But what's something out there that you want to debunk?
That the military is as tough as people make it out to be. Mm-hmm. People make it out to be one of the more tough things, and are like, "Oh, thank you for your service. I could never do that." Mm-hmm. a lot of people really underestimate them, right? Really underestimate themselves.
You're right.
So only 1% of Americans actually join the service, and I think that statistic is so low because people really don't know what they're capable of.
Right. Great question. I mean, great answer.
That's just a myth I would love to debunk because a lot of people could really do it. Right.
Yeah. So, and I would say too, me growing up and I was in the same shoes as you. You know, I had this notation that the military was like, you know, you're wearing camis every day and you're in the bush all the time. And, and in reality, I mean, to be quite frank and to be quite honest, it kind of was like a college atmosphere when I was in. There was the barracks and people. Yeah, you had a day job, but in the evening you got to do whatever you wanted to do, and you're going to the store and you're going out and you know, there's clubs and bars out in town and doing all that stuff. You're living life. So I think that was always something that when I was in, I was like, wow, like it's nothing what I thought it was.
Yeah,
I do got to interrupt here. Tankers and grunts were out in the field a lot.
I think it is job dependent.
We were out in the field a lot.
Yeah.
Like, as a tanker, you know, I wasn't a grunt, but like we rolled with them, you know what I mean? And I don't know.
Right.
I'm and myself, you know?
No, you're right. And then I remember we definitely had our fair share of going out in the field. And for anybody watching, so going out in the field in the military means that you're doing like a week-long exercise, 48-hour exercise or whatever. Going out in the field, you're sleeping out in the field, you're eating rations, you're doing field exercises that outline whatever your job criteria is in the military. So for us, going out and sleeping out in the bush. Luckily for me, I was assigned a Humvee, so I slept in that most of the time.
Yeah.
But going out and just doing exercises, and you know that was kind of going out in the field for us. I imagine probably the same for you guys, right?
Yeah.
No showers.
Nope.
It just sucked.
Sleeping in shelter halves and tents and things like that. Yeah. Just preparing you for any type of scenario that could go sideways.
I would like to word it more like betterly or more better. I would describe going to field as like a fake week-long deployment.
Yeah. Okay.
That I mean, am I right on that?
Yeah, I mean you're training. Most of the time it's training, as if you're going out in the battle. You know,
you're basically training to fight.
We played laser tag basically with tanks. We actually put lasers on them and did you know, tactical movements and all that stuff. You know?
Cool. Yeah. We actually did that too. We actually had a town, like a fake wooden town, where we actually did exercises like that as well. A lot of field night operations. I guess just essentially keeping you sharp in the event that something goes sideways and they need to send you into harm's way.
Yeah.
So cool. So with that being said, Blayne, if you could go back and change anything, would you change anything going into the military?
I love this question, and I've been asked this many times, and I've actually dwelled on it. You know, more and more. Every time I get asked, I dwell on it even harder. My answer is no. I wouldn't change anything. I love the lessons I've learned now, thus far in my life, and even prior to service, I wouldn't change anything about my life at all. I think God had has a special plan for me, and I'm still continuing with that special plan. And I wouldn't change anything.
Awesome.
I've learned every lesson I've learned in my life for a reason. I faced all the adversity, torn ACLs, this, that, the third. I've dealt with everything in my life for a reason, and I'm just abiding by the plan God has set for me.
Very well said.
I do gotta tell you, like, just me, like when that shit happened with his knees and everything, he could have joined a different outfit or whatever. You know, he didn't have to be a helicopter mechanic.
Sure.
He could have got a bonus and everything, but he had his mind set on doing this job because he got tight with the recruiter and like it was in his head. He's getting back to doing that job, and
very cool.
Like he said, God had that plan, and that's what he did.
Awesome, man.
And fun fact, how I do want to also throw in, you actually brought up my recruiter. My recruiter is actually going to be probably my first sergeant when I go up to Fort Drum.
Isn't it funny how that lands? Wow, very cool.
And that's why I say everything comes full circle for a reason. You know.
So this podcast, you know, is something that we decided to do, and I enjoy doing it. It helps me polish my skills, and I get to spend time with awesome people like the both of you, and hear amazing stories and share your stories. And so this is etched in stone forever, Blayne.
Yeah.
So one thing I always ask is, for anybody that's watching out there, if there is some advice that you could give to anybody that's looking to perhaps follow your steps and go into the military, or, you know, to copy your vision or the path that you chose, what advice would you give to anybody out there that's watching?
The only advice I could really give is enhance your relationship with God. Since I've started working on my relationship with God, everything in life has gotten much better. My relationships with family, my relationships with friends, my happiness, right? My determination to continue to abide by God's plan. If there's one thing you could do that literally anybody could do, right? Literally, I could say, you know, my answer could have been go to the gym. My answer could have been anything. But the one thing that literally anybody could do is enhance their relationship with God. And maybe you don't follow God. Maybe it's as Buddha, it's this, it's right. That. Just follow and take your religion very seriously.
Awesome.
You have so much more with your man above, right? You have a therapist. You have somebody to talk to you, to guide to you when you listen. You have somebody to not feel alone. If you're lackluster with family, right? Say you don't have a lot of family, you always have God.
Yeah.
So that is my answer. Enhance your relationship with God.
Well said. So my advice to you, young man.
Yep, I'm listening.
Is listen, right? Listen to your elders. Listen to people that care about you.
Yeah.
Right? You have a family.
Right.
Your family wants you to achieve things that they have never experienced in their life. They want you to go to levels that they have never gone. They want you to succeed in every little thing that you do. Listen to your family. Ask advice. You said that you were going to do that. We're going to hold you to the fire on that.
Yeah.
Always ask for advice and then listen, right? Because you're never going to be strayed in the wrong direction by your family. Family's always going to be there. Blood is thicker than water.
Yeah, absolutely.
So take that advice, man, and I'm excited for you. This last chapter in your military career. We're rooting for you. And it's always just great having these conversations with you and kind of seeing everything through your eyes. You articulate things so well. You kind of bring us into your memory, and you say it so well that we can kind of picture it. So, and I'm sure everyone else out there can see the way that you articulate it as well.
Yeah.
I hope to have you back again soon.
Yeah.
And perhaps we'll go and tell some more stories.
Oh yeah.
So with that being said, Blayne, thank you so much for stopping in.
Yeah.
Had an absolute blast.
Yep.
Daniel, thank you for coming in.
Yes, sir.
And
good times, man.
Worky Wednesdays, we're checking out. Like, subscribe, and we'll see you next time.
Later.
This life is surrender. There's nothing left for us to do. Find the strength to see this through. To the that we are soldiers.